My name is Abigail Childress, and I will be doing my project on the film Barbie and how it relates to the feminist theory and the conflict theory. So, in the feminist theory, stratification refers to the application of values to different categories. Assigning social value to categories ranks those categories within the social context. Um, so, Males and females are treated differently, but we need to know more about the context of how. Context could include, for example, culture and age, as both these factors affect how genders are treated. The step after analysis in which beliefs and values are put into action is praxis. So, with this, basically, this is where we reap what we sow. In this case, if we're a feminist, we are going to take our beliefs about women and put them into action. We are going to advocate for women and take a stand in order to achieve gender equality and fight for the rights of women everywhere. And at the bottom here, I have listed the different types of feminists. Um, there's liberal, radical, Marxist, cultural, social. Um, there are different types and they hold different values and beliefs, but they all have the same objective, which is to change the lives of women by creating gender equality and making women less oppressed. In the conflict theory, there is negotiation and bargaining. These terms refer to the exchange process designed to reach a collective agreement on a dispute issue. This is the part of working through a conflict in order to reach conflict resolution. In conflict resolution, the parties no longer see the issue as competition for scarce resources. There is no more conflict, and resolution is the outcome. This may require redefining the situation so that conflict is no longer perceived as being present. We are now at the end of a conflict where we have found a solution and reached a middle ground where all the parties feel that the conflict no longer exists and we can now all move forward. In conflict theory, we both address and evaluate opposing forces found in various societies. So we can look at this at the macro level and the micro level. And the macro level is basically looking at the bigger overall picture, whereas the micro level is looking deeper at specific situations. So the Barbie movie is a really good example for the feminist theory. The first two examples here are because Barbie can be anything, women can be anything. I have no problem holding both logic and feeling at the same time. These two quotes are trying to break down the female stereotypes by saying that women can do the same thing that men can, and that we do not allow our feelings to get in the way of what's really important. The next one is I feel what could only be described as admired. So at this point in the film, Barbie and Ken have just entered the real world and everybody is looking at them. But Barbie talks about it from a feeling self-conscious, whereas Ken feels admired. And this goes to show you that things that men do are praised, whereas the things that women do are shamed. Um, you represent everything wrong with our culture. And men look at me like I'm an object and girls hate me. Barbie is a pretty stereotypical version of what women are supposed to be, but Barbie also has the intention to promote women. This is where the double standard for women comes from, and Barbie has pretty outstanding goals. However, the approach is not the best, and this is why men stare at her, and this is why women hate her. Can I just meet the woman in charge, your CEO? Barbie learns that the company that makes Barbies is run by a bunch of men, and these men hunt her down and tell her to get in the box. This is an example of men trying to control women and oppress them. This last one here is it is literally impossible to be a woman. In this scene, Sasha's mom talks to Barbie about the double standards for women, and how it is the reason why being a woman is so hard. Oh, hold on. One more. Um, there's one in the middle that says men rule the world, and Ken said this excitedly in this point in the movie, and this is because in Barbie land there is no patriarchy and the roles are reversed. Barbie has no concept of the women's oppression and maltreatment from men once she enters the real world. All right. So this is how the conflict theory applies to the movie Barbie. Barbie talks to Weird Barbie about how she is having thoughts of death and flat feet. So the beginning of the conflict is that Barbie seems to be slowly turning human as a possible solution is that she must go to the real world to find the person who's playing with her and make them feel better so Barbie can return to normal. In order to do this, she has to close her eyes and focus so she can figure out where to find the girl who is playing with her. Barbie then sees a little girl growing up with her mother, but there seems to be an unspoken conflict between the two of them. And then once she finds the mother and daughter, she realizes that she actually came for the mother, whereas she says, those were your memories. Um, these two quotes go together as it seems that there is an issue between the mother and daughter when really it's the mother that is having some conflict with herself is because she believes that aspects of her life are boring. Um, this next one, Ken shouts, "No, you failed me." At this point in the film, uh, you should notice by now that the Kens have a lot of butting heads, basically. And this is because Barbie ignores him and doesn't return his affections, which is the real reason why he brought patriarchy to Barbie land. And Ken just wanted Barbie to feel how he feels, which is why he sings later on, "Where I see love, she sees a friend. What will it take for her to see the man behind the tan?" Is basically him saying, "What will it take for her to love me?" Um, Ken believes that he is nothing without Barbie, revealing that he has identity issues and doesn't know who he is as an individual because he's putting too much value in his relationship with Barbie. And that is why Barbie tells Ken, "You have to figure out who you are without me." Um, this conflict ends with all the Kens telling each other, "We were only fighting because we didn't know who we were." If we look at this film at the macro level, feminist and patriarchy are the issues here when we look at the bigger picture. At the micro level, we are seeing conflict arise and being resolved between Ken and Barbie and both their personal relationships with each other and as individuals, as individual people. So, for synthesis, the feminist and conflict theory go hand in hand in this film as we see patriarchy consistently um, cause problems for women. Barbie couldn't be herself in the real world without being gawked at and catcalled and basically mistreated. We see feminists rise up when all the Barbies try to put a stop to all the Kens. Um, we see them rise up and put a stop to patriarchy and create an attempt to balance things out between the two sexes. Unfortunately, inequality is not truly resolved within the film. However, personal conflicts between individuals like Ken and Barbie are, not to mention the self conflict is also resolved as both Ken and Barbie had some form of identity crisis within the film.